Okay, so we're going to go over number 1. And let's see. So we have a quadratic here in standard form. So remember to find the vertex. If it's in standard form, we're going to do negative b over 2a. So let's see, maybe I'll just negative b. Oh no. Oh, I accidentally clicked start video. Did not want to click that. Okay, negative b over 2a. So in this case, b is -7, right? So negative 7 is now positive 7 over 2 times a would get me 6. So I know the vertex is going to be at 7, 6, comma something. So now I just have to take 7, 6 and plug it back in and see what I get out. So of course it's going to be super annoying. So I'll do that work down here. So we'll do 7, 6 squared minus 7 times 7, 6 plus 2. Okay, so now we'll just do this math out. So that'll be 3 times 49, 36 minus 49, 6 plus 2. So where's my calculator? Here we go. 147 over 36 minus 49 over 6 plus 2. So let's just let's get these all with common denominators so I can actually do it. So I'll multiply this one by 6 over 6 and this by 36 over 36. So let's see what we end up with. I've got 147 over 36 minus 49 times 6 is 294. And then plus 2 times 36 is going to be a 72 over 36. Okay, so let's do that. 147 minus the 294 plus the 72 means I get negative 75 over 36. Now, I have no idea where that is on the coordinate plane, so I'm actually just going to turn that into a decimal. And, oh, what did I do wrong there? 2.08 if I'm going to round. Okay, so there's my vertex. So is that okay? Were you able to find that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm going to plot that, so 7, 6 is 1 and 1/6, and then negative 2.08. So we're right about there, I guess. Oh, geez, it's so hard to write with the stylus. About there-ish for my vertex, right? So now let's go ahead and answer a couple of these other questions. Let me erase all this stuff so I've got some room. Once we have the vertex, we do have a little bit more information. I can now write the axis of symmetry because it's always just x equals whatever the x coordinate of that vertex is. So I can go ahead and answer that. The axis of symmetry would be at x equals 7, 6. What else could I answer right now? You could kind of, well, the domain is always all reals, right? For a quadratic, because you can plug in anything you want. The range, I can kind of get the range once I figure out if this is going to go up or down. Will this quadratic be up like a cup or down like a frown?
Up.
Yes, up. So that means for my range, it's going to start at this lowest value, right? And then it'll just go up from here. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it'll do something like that. So for the range, I can say that I know y is going to have to be greater than or equal to my lowest point, which is that negative 75 over 36. Okay, so I have all of those parts. Now I just need to find the zeros and the y-intercept. I can actually find the y-intercept really easy because I'm just going to plug in 0 for x. So when I do that, it just comes out with a 2. So if x is 0, y is 2. So now I know that this thing is going to cross that y-axis right there. Okay. I can, let me do this. I do have the axis of symmetry that runs right here. So I can mirror it over. I mean, this one's not so nice because that vertex isn't at a nice, neat point. But, I mean, if I'm just sketching, I can kind of approximate. Oh, where would it land? Maybe about there-ish? Oh gosh, this is so hard to write. Okay, so now I can also kind of visualize where my 0 should be. If I were to connect these, I know that I'm going to have a 0 somewhere in between 0 and 1, and it looks like another one in between 2 and 3. So to find those zeros, I just have to solve that quadratic. So I replace y with a 0, 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. So now you have all different ways to solve a quadratic. You could do factoring would be ideal. So I always like to start off and see if I can factor it. If I can't factor it, then I'll see if completing the square makes sense, but I wouldn't do that with this one. And if all else fails, then I would do quadratic formula. So a is not 1, so I'm going to try and factor this. So I do this method where I multiply a times c, and you get 6. So 3x squared. Oh, I've got 6, and now I just need to find factors of 6 that add up to be -7. So it'll be a -1 and a -6, right? So then I replace that middle term with these two. So minus x minus 6x, and then plus 2. And then I factor by grouping. So I'm going to split this in half. Here I can take out an x. Here I can take out a -2. So it looks like this thing factors down to x minus 2 and 3x minus 1. If you factor a different way, that's totally fine. If you do guess and check, or, you know, whatever method you use to get from this step to this step is totally fine.
Okay.
So were you able to get there?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then once you have a factor to find the zeros, you just set them equal to 0, each one, to figure out where that is actually crossing. So, oh, it looks like I'm a bit off, because it looks like this thing is going to cross at a positive 1/3 and at a positive 2. 1/3 and 2. So looks like my graph is a little, hold on, let's see if I can neaten it up a little bit. Oh no, I didn't mean to erase the whole thing. Oh well, it's fine. So this thing's going to cross at 1/3 and then again at 2. So it's going to look more like that. So I think this dot is a little off. Okay, so that's it for that one. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. There's got to be a way to erase the whole screen at once. I keep looking. Maybe I'm like double tapping the eraser. I don't know. I haven't figured it out. Okay. Let's scroll up to number 2. Okay. So hang on one second. Jay, could you not right now? Oh my gosh. We bought my son walkie-talkies for Easter, and I guess we're testing them right now. Okay. All right. So number 2. So this one is in vertex form, but I don't love that the 4 is on this side. So I'm actually going to rewrite this, and then it'll fall into our pattern a little bit better. I'm going to move that 4 to the other side. So if I had -2, oops, x plus 2 squared, and then put that 4 on the end. Oh, there we go. So now it kind of fits that format, a times x minus h squared plus k. So now I can look at this and I can just tell what my vertex is. I don't have to do any math because it's just going to be h comma k. So the vertex in this case is going to be a -2, 4. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So -2, 4 on my graph will be right here. And then because I see that a is -2, that tells me that this is going to be down like a frown. And yeah, so I know that I'm going to be facing downwards. So let's see what else we can fill in right here. I'm going to know the axis of symmetry is going to be x equals -2. Since it's going down, that means my range, right, the highest I'll ever get is that +4. And then I'm going to have everything underneath it, right, because my graph is going to look something like that.
Yeah.
So, oops. I know the range is going to be y is less than or equal to +4. Domain, again, is all reals because they all are. Okay, and now we're just going to solve this one. So let's go ahead, let's do the y-intercept because that's easy enough. So again, I just have to plug in 0 for x, and then we'll do that math out. So if I plug in 0 for x, you get 0 plus 2 is 2, 2 squared is 4, times -2 is -8, plus 4, -4. So y-intercept is at 0, -4. Okay, and this one has a nice, since all the points are lining up nicely, I can mirror that one over nicely. So now I have sketch of my graph is, oops, this is so hard. Something like that, okay? But I'm gonna have to solve for those zeros, right? So again, let's replace y with 0. And let's plug in what we have, -2, x plus 2 squared plus 4. Now this one, I can solve this by square rooting. And well, you have a lot of options. You could, you know, do all the math and FOIL this out and get it into standard form and then try factoring that way. But that's so much work. You can just get the thing being squared by itself. So let's start by doing that. -4, -2, x plus 2 squared. Divide both sides by that -2. So now I'm gonna move over here so I have room. So now I have a +2 equals x plus 2 squared. And now I can go ahead and take the square root of both sides. Unfortunately, 2 is not a perfect square, but that's okay. I'll just leave it as the square root of 2. Don't forget positive negative roots because I took a square root. And then all I have to do is minus the 2 from the other side. So my x-intercepts will be at -2 plus and minus the square root of 2. So I can put that right there. So you could, I have no idea what those are as decimals, but you could turn it into a decimal and check if it really is kind of where you expect it to be on your graph.
Okay.
Any other ones you want me to do?
Can you go over number 3?
Yeah, sure. Oh my gosh, there's got to be a better way. Okay, 3. All right, so 3 is in standard form, but I'm going to rewrite it so that everything's where it's supposed to be. So I'd have the -3x squared minus 6x and then a plus 5. Oh, geez. There we go. All right, so let's see. I don't know where the vertex is, so I'm going to have to do the -b over 2a. So -b is going to be a +6 over 2a is going to be a -6. So that means it's going to be at -1 comma something. So now let's take that -1 and plug it back in. Be careful when you take -1 and you plug it in right here. You're going to be doing -1 squared. So -1 times -1 is now +1. So when I plug that back in, I'm going to get a +1 there times -3. And then -6 times -1 is a +6 and then a +5. So that gets me 8. All right, -1, 8. Does my graph even go that? Oh, it does. Okay, good. All right, so I've got my vertex. I know my axis of symmetry is going to be x equals -1. Domain all reals like always. And then the range, let's see. This one's going to be down like a frown, right? My graph will be looking something like that. So
Yeah.
I know I'm going to do y is less than or equal to 8. All right. So now we're going to try and find those zeros. Okay, let's see. First of all, I don't like that a is negative at all. So me personally, I would divide everything by -1. And now let's see if we can factor this thing. Are there factors of -15 that add up to be a 6? I don't think so. Right? Yeah. Nope. So I would not complete the square with this one because it would kind of be a nightmare. So I would just go right to quadratic formula. So let's try that. -b plus or minus the square root of b squared is going to be 36 minus 4 times 3 times -5 all over 2a, so it'd be a 6. So let's see what we get in there. That's going to be -4 times 3 is -12, and -12 times -5 is now a positive 60. Yeah, so 36 and 60 is a 96 all over 6. Are you double checking me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so 96 does not have, 96 isn't a perfect square, but does it have any perfect square factors? Oh yeah, 4, of course.
It has
So,
16.
oh yeah, 16, that'll be even better. Yeah, so let's simplify that. So that would be a -6 plus minus, if we split that into 16, that'll come out as a 4 root 6 in there, right? All over 6. So you're here, and you can simplify this as long as these 3 numbers all have a common factor, which they do. So I'll reduce all of those by 2, and that'll get me my zeros. So I'll just write them up here. -3 plus minus 2 root 6 all over 3. Okay, so again, I have no idea where those are on the graph. You are, you're more than welcome to turn that into a decimal to figure out where they are, but I'm not even going to need it because I can just use my Y-intercept to help me. So if I go right back to this equation right here and I plug in 0 for x, looks like y is just going to come out to be a positive 5. Okay, so now I have my Y-intercept at 5. And I can mirror that over this way and sketch my graph like that. And there we have it.
Awesome.
All right. Any other ones?
Number 6. And
You got it. Okay, 6. Ooh, intercept form. This is probably my favorite. Okay, so intercept form, this one I can look at it and I know where those x-intercepts are. So it's always going to be the opposite of each of these. So this thing, my zeros are going to happen at -7 and at -4. So I'm going to start with dots at those two. So a -4 Oh my gosh. And -7. Okay. So now, in order to find my vertex, I know that it has to happen halfway in between those two values. So I'll know what the x coordinate is pretty easily. I just need halfway in between -4 and -7. So if you add -4 and -7 together, you get -11 divided by 2 to find that average, right? So -5.5.
Mm-hmm.
So I know my vertex is at -5.5 comma something. So again, I'm going to have to go in there and figure out what the something is, right? So take that -5.5 and plug it in and see what comes out. So in the meantime, what I do know though is, let me do this. -5.5 puts me right here. So I have this axis of symmetry that runs right through there. It's just a matter of where that y value is. I don't know yet. So let's go ahead and do that math and we can figure it out. I might get back to my colors here. There we go. All right, so if I plug -5.5 in, I'll do my breakdown here. I have -1/4, and then a -5.5 plus 7, and a -5.5 plus 4. Okay, so that's going to be a -1/4. That's going to be a what, 1.5? And then this one's going to be a -1.5. So then I'll just quickly throw that in my calculator and see what we get out. 1.5. I get out a 0.5625. Okay, so that means that my vertex is going to be like right there. There we go. So this graph, which makes sense because if my a value is 1/4, that means my graph is going to be really wide.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it was going to be upside down because a was negative. So that all kind of makes sense. So let's go ahead and find that y-intercept. I just have to plug in 0 for x. So that'll be 7 times 4 is 28 times a -1/4 is a -7.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my graph is way off then. Hold on. Let's see if I can erase that. 0, -7 would be right here. Okay, so let's see if I can graph this a little bit better. There we go. That looks better. Axis of symmetry, I already know it. X equals -5.5. Domain is all reals, like always. And then my range, since it's going down, this is going to be y is less than or equal to my highest point, which is that 0.5625. And that's it.
Cool.
What else can I do for you, if anything?
I think I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think we got really lucky that this section was kind of, because you have seen these before, so
Yeah.
it's not like totally new stuff. So I'm so thankful that that kind of popped up just the right time.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, if there's anything else that comes up throughout the week, you know where to find me.
Yep.
All right, well, stay well, and I'll talk
Yep,
to you
you
later.
too. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.